Hey guys, it's Daniel. Welcome back.
This is one of the houses Kurt Cobain used to live in with Courtney Love. I'll be discussing more details about that later in the video. One of the important events which took place in this house was Kurt Cobain and journalist Michael Azerrad meeting each other. Michael Azerrad would become a close friend of Kurt's and his official biographer. The following is from Michael Azerrad regarding his initial meeting with Kurt Cobain in this house, his initial impression of what Kurt was like as a person, and why Kurt and Courtney ultimately chose him to write Kurt's official biography, Come As You Are, which is widely regarded by many as the best Nirvana biography out there. This is from Michael Azerrad's article for The New Yorker, published in September of 2021. Quote, in early 1992, when I first met Kurt Cobain, he and Courtney Love were living in a little apartment in a 2-up, 2-down building on an ordinary street in the Fairfax section of Los Angeles. I had flown there from New York to interview him for a Rolling Stone cover story, the one with the famous photograph of him wearing a homemade t-shirt that said, "Corporate magazines still suck." I was nervous. Not much was known about Kurt at that point, other than he was the guy from Seattle who screamed in his songs, smashed his guitars, and might be a heroin addict. He was also the most celebrated rock musician on the planet. It was dusk when a taxi dropped me off at his place. Courtney greeted me at the door and graciously offered me a plate of grapes. There was a tiny, dimly lit living room with no furniture. As Norwegian wood played faintly on a crappy stereo, Courtney led me down a short hallway to the bedroom. I got to the door and opened it to find Kurt lying in a little bed in a little room, his back against the wall facing the doorway, his shocking blue eyes gazing at me through the subdued lighting. The smell of jasmine flowers wafted through the screen of the window above his head. To this day, whenever I smell jasmine, I'm transported back to that moment. I sat down on a little footstool next to his bed, started up the tape recorder, and began asking him questions. A few months after the Rolling Stone story came out that April, in 1992, the magazine sent me to England to cover the big Reading Festival, whose final day featured a bill almost entirely composed of grunge bands, with Nirvana headlining. I was staying at the Holiday Inn, where a lot of the band stayed too. One evening, I walked up to him in the lobby. He was glad to see me and said that he liked my Rolling Stone story. In retrospect, I can see why. The article served his purposes. I quoted an anti-drug speech he gave, which he seemed to think let him off the hook for using drugs. I acknowledged that he was truly in love with Courtney, who was getting a lot of grief from the media. I took his crippling stomach pain seriously, which few people did, and I let him plug in some of his favorite bands, which helped him feel a little better about his burgeoning fame. In the hotel lobby, we furthered the connection we'd made during the interview. I bought him a vodka and orange juice at the packed bar, and we chatted a bit before the swirl of acquaintances and gawking onlookers compelled Kurt to retreat to his room. Nirvana's concert at Reading that August was a triumph, and not just because they played at all. The UK music press had been speculating that Kurt was too heroin sick to perform, and the rumor was that Nirvana would cancel. But not only did they played what is widely regarded as one of the greatest rock concerts ever. Along with a gaggle of other journalists, I stood at the back of the stage looking out at thousands of faces bouncing up and down in huge rolling swells. On stage, some freaky guy danced with the band like a blissed out ragdoll, doing what everybody in the crowd wished they had the room to do. The music, including a new song called All Apologies, was incredible. Late one evening, a month or so later, the phone rang. It was Courtney. She wanted to know whether I would like to write a book about Nirvana. That sounds interesting, I said, playing it as cool as I could manage. But could I talk to Kurt about it? She handed the phone to Kurt. Hey, he said, in his cigarette growl. I asked why he wanted to do the book. This was shortly after Vanity Fair had published a story that was used as evidence to briefly relieve them of custody of their infant daughter, Frances. Kurt promised me access to anyone I wanted to talk to, and that I could write whatever I wanted. Just tell the truth, he said. That'll be better than anything else that's been written about me. End quote. As mentioned, guys, here's the footage of me visiting the house he was talking about. If you want to see the full video where I visit several of Kurt Cobain's former houses, the link is available in the description box below. All the videos on my channel are original. If you want to support, the best way to do so is to subscribe, like, and share.
So Al is the current tenant at Kurt Cobain's old house here at, it's 448 Spalding, right?
448 North Spalding.
That's so cool. And so I guess this was Kurt's old living room right here?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I feel like 91, maybe? 92?
So right down this way, this is where Kurt's old bedroom was, you're saying, right?
Yep.
It's right in here?
Yep.
That's pretty far out, man. So how long have you been living here for?
A few months, probably like 5 months.
That's cool.
Hey guys, this is another one of the houses Kurt Cobain lived in Los Angeles. Unlike the previous location I showed you, when I visited this house, there was no one living here. As a matter of fact, in 2021, a historic cultural monument nomination was submitted by the Los Angeles Conservancy regarding this house. Kurt Cobain lived here with Courtney Love and Frances Bean at various points in 1992 and 93. Kurt wrote much of what would become In Utero here.